Welcome to this explainer. A huge special hello to all of our A2 English learners tuning in from Brazil today. So glad you're here. Look, if you live with anyone, whether that's your parents, your kids, siblings, or just roommates, you already know that keeping the peace at home takes some seriously good communication. Today, we're tackling something super practical: how to handle those everyday household requests and complaints in English. We'll learn how to ask for help, how to politely say yes, and, let's be real, how to give a solid excuse when you're just too busy. Let's get right into it. To kick things off, I want you to think about your own house for a second. Who is honestly the messiest person living there? Is it a teenager who literally leaves clothes draped over every single piece of furniture? Maybe a little brother with toys scattered like landmines all over the floor? Or, wait, is it actually you? Hey, no judgment here. We all deal with messy family members daily. But to actually talk about these situations in English without causing an argument, we need some specific vocabulary. Take a look at the Field family here. You can literally see how exhausted and annoyed the parents are. And honestly, can you blame them? The living room is a total disaster zone. You've got the TV blasting while Jason watches his favorite show, and over there, Lisa is just glued to her phone with her books dumped all over the floor. It is a loud, messy situation that's practically guaranteed to start a fight. Section 1. Family complaints and requests. Okay. Let's dive into this. This is such a classic family clash, right? On one side, you have these totally shocked, stressed out parents who just want a clean, quiet house. And right next to them, we've got the rebellious teenagers, completely zoned out with their headphones and phones, just wanting a little privacy. It's a total standoff. Both sides are completely frustrated, but for entirely different reasons. Let's check out some of these really common complaints. You'll hear parents constantly saying things like, "Kids don't help around the house," or "Teens are always texting their friends." But then, flip the script, and teenagers are complaining, "Parents constantly nag me to clean my room," or "Parents just don't respect my privacy." It's a cycle of complaints. Now, to actually break this cycle and fix these problems, we really need to know how to make specific, actionable requests. Section 2. Meet two-part verbs. So here is the secret weapon for household harmony: the two-part verb. You might also hear this called a phrasal verb. Basically, it combines a standard action word, like turn, with a second little word, like down. And when you put them together, boom, you get a brand new, highly specific meaning. These are absolutely crucial because native speakers use them constantly when talking about chores. Let's jump back to our story. Mr. Field is at his wit's end with all that loud noise. So what does he do? He uses a two-part verb and says, "Turn down the TV, please." Notice he doesn't just say turn, he says turn down, which specifically means to lower the volume. It's direct, but perfectly natural. Here's another one you'll hear all the time. Imagine you walk inside, take off your coat, and just toss it on the nearest chair. Your mom is probably going to say, "Hang up your jacket." The action verb is hang, and that second part is up, hang up. We use this one specifically when putting clothes away on a hanger or a hook. Oh, and here is the chore absolutely nobody wants to do. When it's time to put the smelly garbage outside, we use the two-part verb take out. You take out the trash. Pretty literal, right? You are taking it out of the house. Section 3, the noun and pronoun rule. And pay close attention to the words highlighted in green here. This is the most important grammar rule in this whole explainer. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the flexibility. When you're using a standard noun like the TV or the trash, you actually have options. You can drop the noun right at the end of the phrase, like turn down the TV. Or you can split the verb and put the noun right in the middle, turn the TV down. Both of these are 100% correct and sound completely natural in spoken English. So the crucial point is what happens when we swap that noun for a pronoun, like the word it. If the TV suddenly becomes it, that little word absolutely must go in the middle. It splits the two-part verb right in half. You have to say, turn it down. If you try to say, turn down it, well, that's just incorrect. It sounds totally unnatural to a native speaker. And hey, this exact same rule applies to plural pronouns. Let's say someone is yelling at you to clean up your books or your shoes. Those are plural, right? So we use the pronoun them. And just like it, them has to go straight into the middle of the verb. Put them away is perfect. Put away them? No way. That's a grammar trap you want to avoid. All right, section 4, saying yes with will. So somebody just asked you to do a chore, and you actually want to be helpful and agree. Great. To do this, we use the word will. But in conversational English, we almost always squash it down into the contraction I'll. Saying I'll tells the other person, yep, I'm on it. I will do this right now. For example, if someone asks you, please turn off the lights, you can happily agree by saying, okay, I'll turn them off. See what we did there? We used I'll to agree. And because lights is plural, we use the pronoun them. And where does them go? Right in the middle, splitting turn and off. I'll turn them off. Simple, polite, and grammatically flawless. Now for section 5, refusing and making excuses. Because, let's face it, we can't always drop everything and help out immediately. And this brilliantly illustrates how to handle those tricky moments. Look, sometimes you're just busy, but how do you say no without starting World War III in your living room? You do it in 2 steps. First, you apologize or delay. You say, sorry, I can't, or maybe in a minute. Second, you give a solid reason. I have to put away my clothes, or I'm on the phone. The golden rule here, never just bark no at someone. Always pad it with a sorry and a reasonable excuse. Imagine asking a little kid to go clean up the yard, but they're already knee-deep in building a giant fort in their room. Their excuse might be, sorry, I can't. I have to put away my toys. They are refusing politely, and notice they're actually using another 2-part verb, put away, to explain exactly why they're busy. Pretty clever, right? Let's move to section 6, practice in your house, and see how this all builds together. I want you to literally look around your own home right now as you're watching this. Do you see a mess somewhere? Maybe there's a jacket slung over a chair or some junk mail on the counter. I want you to try making a request in your head right now using a 2-part verb. And the next time your family asks you to do something, practice your response in English. Say, okay, I'll do it, or sorry, I can't right now. Applying this in your actual real-life house is the absolute best way to make it stick. So I'll leave you with this. What is the very first excuse you are going to use today? Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next explainer.